This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 479, recorded on Thursday, September 4th, 2014. We are Immense Heaven. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and today on This Week in Science, we're going to fill your head with Immense Heaven, tradeoffs, and sexy urine. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. The time has finally come. It's now at last. Yes, all the nows that we experienced in the past seem real enough, or seemed so at the time, but compared to this now, those nows are about as useful as any other now that took place in history. Those nows before had their moments, but nothing compares to the now we now have. This now. In no other now than this do we have the memory of all things that happened before. In no other now than this can we still actively pursue our free will and freedom of thought. In no other now than this has so much of human history, so much of scientific discovery been available to build and rely upon. In no other now than this can we choose what we will do next. And most importantly, perhaps, in no other now than this can we tune into a brand new episode of This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kirsten and Blair.
Good science to you too, Justin, and welcome everyone to another This Week in Science. We've got a great show ahead, all sorts of stories lined up. I've got science news. Is that a surprise? No, it's not a surprise. I've got news stories about the polar vortex, brain trade-offs, and brain-to-brain communication. What do you have for us, Justin?
Brain-to-brain communication? How would that even be possible?
The wires and stuff.
I think we're doing it right now, actually.
That's true.
Also, let's see. We've got how the brain perhaps finds what it's looking for. Or is that the same? How many brain stories do we got? We're gonna have to do a rundown. Make sure we don't have a different version of the same brain story there. Artificial cells being worked on. Genetic links between circadian clock and seasonal timings in animals. How the brain visualizes. Parrots. Well, I'll do the parrots. There's too many brains. I'm going to do how a parrot thinks. How a parrot learns. How a parrot goes to school to learn things.
Parrot school.
It's kind of like Encino Man, but with a parrot.
I'm just envisioning a new Pixar film coming out of this. Blair, what do you have?
I have, let's see, I have fish pee. That's a good one. I have superhuman salamander healing powers. I'm not going to say that again. I have diabetes. I don't actually have diabetes. I have stories about diabetes and music. Oh, and I have a little bit of stuff about sperm, too, if we have time. We'll see.
Hopefully we've got lots of time because there's so many stories to talk about today. Oh my gosh. First up, I'm going to talk about the polar vortex. Everyone was complaining about the crazy cold weather and everybody learned this term. I think this year the terms that people are learning are supermoon and polar vortex. These are words that nobody used to use, and now all of a sudden every moon, it's no longer the harvest moon, it's a supermoon. And now cold weather, it's because of the polar vortex. Anywho, polar vortex, you're probably familiar with this if you live in the Northeast. It is unseasonably cold weather as a result of changes in the North Polar region that upset the jet stream and end up allowing it to go wibbly-wobbly. And because of the wibbly-wobbly, the cold air from the polar region dips down here, and we get crazy colds and ice storms and not a lot of fun in the sun. Researchers have been looking at data, trying to figure out why these polar vortexes are occurring, what the mechanism might be. Publishing in Nature Communications this last week, researchers from the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in Richland, Washington, and others of their team have found that these cold outbreaks have been happening more and more regularly since the year 2000, which is about when we started going, hey, look, it's our decade of just getting hotter every year. And oh, look, it's our decade of declining sea ice. And that is exactly what the researchers, Jinho Yoon and his team, found. They found that declining sea ice triggers, or is possibly part of the recipe, a big part of the recipe, that triggers these polar vortexes to occur. So the years in which there are polar vortexes, we find that there is not very much sea ice in the Arctic. And so that kind of is the way it works. Sea ice allows the ocean to keep in a lot of the to moderate the temperature so that it stays colder in the poles where it's supposed to be cold. The ice helps it stay cold. It's kind of like you put ice in your drink. The ice is going to help your drink stay cold longer. Get rid of the ice, and all of a sudden you have a different modulation of the atmosphere by the uncovered ocean, and you start getting warmer temperatures and the wibbly wobbly jet stream and the polar vortex that dips down into more southerly latitudes. People are debating this. Kevin Trenberth from the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder says he thinks that there are other things probably involved, because Yoon and his team could not pin this sea ice phenomenon on this last year's 2013 to 2014's particular polar vortex phenomenon. Shoot. Yeah, they couldn't actually pin those things together. So Trenberth is saying this is probably good, but there's probably more involved, such as El Nino and other Pacific Ocean oscillatory phenomena that are having an impact. And it's very likely that the sea ice is a big part, and yes, this is a huge system, and the Pacific probably plays a large role in it as well. But this is one piece of the puzzle, at least.
Well, I think it's safe to say that if you kind of change the planet's hot, cold areas kind of suddenly, right? You're going to change currents, you're going to change wind currents, you're going to change all of these very delicate dynamics that we have, which could very easily cause a really warm winter, like we had with no rain. And then you could have a very cold winter on another side that has a different set of currents and air currents hitting it as well. I think it makes perfect sense. It's only a matter of time until we figure out exactly what kind of was at play with our current polar vortex. But I have to say, it is kind of a bummer that this wasn't it. I was really hoping when I saw this story that that's what it would be about, because then I could have something to go, see?
Very solid, right? I mean, it is pretty solid. They've been looking at it, at the data going back years, and also doing modeling, and I mean, it's increased since the 90s. Before the 90s, it was not a very common occurrence. After about 2000, this polar vortex phenomena became more and more common, and it's dipping down further and further. So there are,
which is really good news for if the future is going to be unpredictable in terms of how much water is available, how much fresh water is available in places that we've relied upon it to be. At least we know, with the continuation of global warming, the United States not only won't run out of water, but we'll be getting a lot of it in the form of ice and snow and rain.
At least the Northeast will. But the Western states, we still have to worry about this drought condition.
Yeah. That's what the pipeline's for. We're going to take that planned Canada to Texas oil pipeline,
Right.
Just going to tweak it a little bit so it goes from the northeast out to the southwest. We'll just pipe water across.
Yeah. Who needs
And in the
oil?
process,
Just do
In
water.
the process of doing that, right, you're going to burn a bunch of fossil fuels to manufacture things, move things around.
Right.
So
And it'll just bring that water here that much quicker.
Oh dear.
This is what it's going to come down to. I think
boy.
whether or not we're at the tipping point is debatable. But one of the interesting things now to me is go on to the next step. Okay, what's the aftermath of global warming going to look like? How are we going to have to rebuild our cities and our civilizations? Well, maybe at a little higher elevation. But again, if we're in a drought condition in one part of the country, but we're gaining, thankfully we have thanks to France for selling the middle and whoever we kicked out from everybody we kicked out of the way, Russians, Spanish, whoever we got out of the way. Thank you for this wide country that's big enough so that we can get water in one end of it at least. I think we're gonna be okay. I think that bodes well for the future of the nation. The fact that we'll get that much ice and snow. Yes, some Northwesterners will be underwater, and the new greater lakes are gonna be formed.
Well, Justin, this isn't to say that we're going to have that extreme weather every single year. You can't count on it. Things are just becoming more and more crazy, basically. It looks to me like there's just...
So we'll take what we can get.
There's crazy, but I'm going to say, moving into another story, that scientists do just make observations and figure things out sometimes. Sometimes it takes a while to figure it out, but they get it. So there are these rocks in Death Valley in a place called Racetrack Playa. And for years, people have been trying to figure out how exactly these rocks move.
The wind.
They're rocks. Well, yeah, wind.
And a little bit of ice.
But how? Well, okay, thanks for just telling the story right now. You read it earlier.
It's not. No, I thought there was going to be another element.
Your turn.
Can you just wait your turn? I'm telling the story to people. Background and then the details.
I've seen this before. Oh, go ahead.
So there have been many hypotheses as to how these rocks, little rocks, just rocks don't move. They don't have legs. They don't scurry after you in the night. They're just rocks, right? Well, they move. They've got tracks behind them like little race cars. And so people have, since like the 1940s, people have been coming up with explanations for how the rocks would move. And yes, winds have always been a part of these explanations. One geologist, according to Ars Technica, took out a propeller from an airplane, a propeller airplane, and blew it to try and see how much force from the wind it would take to move rocks around. So anyway, you got buoyancy and friction. Stop. Stop. I'm telling a story. No, it's not enough. Exactly. Okay, the wind's not enough.
In those previous attempts, when they tried with the propellers and blowing them, you kind of got the effect a little bit, but not like these long, winding paths across this.
And so that's the exact thing also. How do the winding paths appear? They're not totally straight. They're long, and they do kind of wind. So how does the wind only do that? So yes, there's another piece of the puzzle in there. And so finally some scientists went to Death Valley, and they stuck geolocators on the rocks, on a bunch of rocks, and they also got cameras up there, and they got little weather stations to find out what was happening in the weather, and they found out that yes, wind is involved, but it takes a very special combination of ice forming on the Racetrack Playa and then a sunny morning to slightly melt the ice to create a small buoyancy that the rocks would float on top of the ice, plus a light wind and the ice cracking along natural cracks that would form in the ice. And the wind, yes, pushes the rocks, and the rocks go along the cracks that form in the ice.
I didn't know about the cracks in the ice. That part.
Right? It's new.
What I'm wondering is, was this the first time that they said, let's set up a camera?
I don't know. I think so. I think this is really one of the first times they've got GPS, weather station, time-lapse cameras. I mean, really, the technology to do this has not been available that long. You know, they started this project back in 2011, and they've finally gotten enough data to be able to, and written the paper, written the paper, done all that stuff. Yeah, but there's a great video if you go to the Ars Technica site, or if you even look for it on YouTube, called How Rocks Move, and the researchers explain all of it to you. It's very exciting. And then finally, we live in immense heaven.
No, okay, Kiki, this sounds very... Do I have to buy some black Nikes now? Like, what's going on? This is getting very uncomfortable. Is there another comic coming?
Everybody get ready with your glasses of Kool-Aid, okay? Glasses of Kool-Aid ready?
Freaking me out, man.
Mine's clear Kool-Aid called vodka. No, it's just water, everyone. Just water. Astronomers! Nice sunglasses. You're ready. You're ready, Blair, for this one. Astronomers using the National Science Foundation's Green Bank telescope and a few other telescopes have been trying to figure out what neighborhood we're in space. And they have determined, they have clarified the boundaries of the supercluster that we live in. And superclusters are the largest structures known in the universe. And so they have defined the boundaries of the supercluster that we live in, which is pretty cool. It's like going, hey, now I know which streets are the boundaries of my neighborhood and who's in the other neighborhoods and how to get there. Cool things about this. Okay, they've called it Lanaiakea. They're researchers in Hawaii. So Lanaiakea, it's Hawaiian for immense heaven. It's not some cult kind of thing. It's just Hawaiian, immense heaven. And the really neat thing about this is that it's allowed the observations have allowed us to understand how gravitational forces are at work in our supercluster, and how energy is flowing through it. And there are some amazing images, great video that's available to be able to get an idea of where we are with respect to the center of our galactic cluster, the forces from other clusters, and everything within it. It's some really neat stuff going here. It clarifies the role of the Great Attractor, which is a focal point gravitationally in intergalactic space that influences motion of our local group of galaxies and other galaxy clusters. And so galaxy motions are directed inward in the same way that water streams follow descending paths toward a valley. And the Great Attractor is a large, flat-bottom gravitational valley with a sphere of attraction that extends across our supercluster. Our supercluster is 500 million light years in diameter, and has the mass of 100 million billion suns across 100 galaxies. Big.
That's pretty big. That's pretty big. That's on the big side.
100 million billion suns.
100 million billion suns is the mass of our supercluster. And the images that are available are just so striking to me because it looks like something physiological. I mean, there are all these, within nature you see repeating patterns occurring from the small scale to the very large. And this is, once again, it's like veins or nerves where there are branches coming off of a main trunk in the flow of gravitational force within the cluster. It's really fascinating to me that there is this total conservation of structure, even at such a large scale. Just fascinating.
Yeah, that's so great. Awesome.
Awesome, right? All right, Justin, what you got?
Let's do the bird school.
I like bird school.
This is I'm translating this, paraphrasing this from the original German. This is from the University of Vienna, scientists from the Oxford University, the University of Vienna, Max Planck Institute at Sweden have shown that spontaneous innovation by a Goffin's cockatoo can spread to other conspecifics by social learning among birds. After observing that an adult male Goffin cockatoo named Figaro spontaneously started to sculpt stick tools out of the wooden aviary beams and used them for raking nuts behind the grid of the grate, researchers wondered what effect, if any, such an individual technical innovation might have on social companions. So they used Figaro as the role model and treated other birds to different degrees of exposure to Figaro's craft. One experimental cockatoo group were allowed to observe Figaro skillfully employing a ready-made stick tool. So he's already got the tool, he's getting the nuts, either seeing the tool displace the nuts themselves or while being controlled by magnets hidden under a table, or seeing the nuts moving towards Figaro without his intervention. Again, using magnets to displace the food. They were all then placed in front of the same problem with a ready-made tool lying on the ground in front of them. So here's how he's going to use it. In one case, here's a control where the nuts moved without Figaro doing anything. Here's that tool. Go to work. They were, okay, so 3 males and 3 females that saw Figaro's complete demonstration interacted much more with the potential tools and other components from the problem than those seeing the fake demo, the magic demo. They concentrated really hard, like, use my magic mind powers to bring, and nothing happened. So this is, you know, and then they did other layers where they actually showed. There were 2 successful observers that were later tested after seeing him create the tool first and then use it. 2 successful observers were later tested in the absence of the ready-made tool by offering them the materials. One of them spontaneously started to make his own tool. The other one initially failed, but then managed to do so after a single demonstration session watching Figaro carve tools out of the blocks. So this is bird learning.
It's really amazing. Like, this species is not known to use tools in the wild. Not that they are. You followed her anyway. Okay, I'm back. They're not known to use tools in the wild, and so it's really interesting that they did this in the first place, and then to have this kind of learning behavior, this emulation learning occur following is even more fascinating.
What species was this?
This is a
Goffin
cockatoo.
Yeah.
Cockatoo. Very interesting.
Cockatoos are smart birds.
Yeah, I mean, all the parroty things are pretty smart. They're not crow smart, but they're pretty smart.
No, it's pretty interesting in the parrot family, the Sitidae family. They are on par. Their brains are actually slightly differently structured. So they have neurological anatomical differences in the brain between parrots and corvids. And so differences in their behavior are going to come from that. And so parrots are very social birds, and they show this kind of learning a lot. And so it's more surprising to see the kind of learning that we see in the corvids, I think. Because they are social, but not as social in the same way.
That's another interesting side note to this whole thing. The cockatoos that got to witness and everything and were at one point emulating the original Figaro behavior also tried other tactics.
That's right. They did their own thing. They did
their own version, and some were more successful than Figaro. But Figaro didn't get to see that. Figaro figured out one way to do it that kind of worked for him, so he keeps doing it. The other ones were like, yeah, but if you hold it like this, it's just a little more comfortable for me because I'm left-winged, and he hit it that way. It works even better. So there was even innovation in the learning.
The students learned, but then took it upon themselves to try something new and do it better.
That is fantastic. So next time someone calls you a bird brain,
take it as a compliment. That's what I've been telling people for years.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. This is This Week in Science. Hey, Blair. Do you know what time it is? I think I know.
Is it that time?
I think it is that time.
All right.
She loves our creature, bright and small.
5-peg millipede, no pet animal. Wanna hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels that are both yours.
Sweet. Whoa, you want to talk about fish pee?
Yeah.
Wait. Fish don't pee. How can a fish
Yeah, they do.
How would a fish pee? Fish don't even drink water. Why would a fish want
Yes,
to
they
drink
do.
water? They're already surrounded.
So let's start from the beginning then. Fish drink. If they're freshwater fish, they just drink the water that they're in. If they're saltwater fish, they have specialized kidneys that help take the salt out of the water.
Huh.
So they drink water and they pee just like any other animal does. They have urates. So turns out that tilapia pee is very important in the language of love.
Seriously?
Yes. So it was time to look at tilapia pee, and this is why. That's when they had males and females in a tank, and they had kind of a courtship arena. So there's males and females all working, trying to find each other. And there's definitely a hierarchy. There's ranking among males, and they fight in this courtship arena. And with their mouths, this is so crazy, the tilapias make excavations in the sand in the middle of the arena so that they can attract females to spawn in the nest. Like, hey, look at this nest that I made. Don't you want to lay your eggs in this nest so I can then put my sperm on top of the eggs? Like, doesn't this look like a fantastic place to put your eggs? Please put your eggs here. Look at it. And at the same time,
don't you want to put your eggs here?
Stay away, other males. I'll kick your butt. Please lay your eggs. Stay away. Lay your eggs. This is what the tilapia do. So while they're doing that,
two-faced tilapia.
It's been observed that they urinate more often during this time. And I love the scientific language here. They squirt larger quantities of urine into the water during fights than when they're subordinate, or compared to the subordinate ones. If one of them's winning, they're the ones squirting more urine.
The winner is.
Ali has him against the ropes. It's a left. It's
Oh,
a
no.
right. Oh, he's peeing everywhere.
Exactly. Meanwhile,
Because the question would be, is the loser peeing because they're scared? Is there a fear element, and can they take
Right.
that out of it
Nope.
somehow? So this is not correct.
it's the dominant males are peeing, and they're also peeing when they're trying to court the females all at the same time. So they've been able to glean from that. Sure, urine
you really look
probably
tonight.
has.
I must say, you look amazing tonight. You know, I don't remember when the moonlight is looked at. Oh yes, don't mind that.
Oh my.
It's just, yeah, I know. But just move your leg a little to the. I'm sorry. Yes, I cannot help it. Your eyes are like.
So that's all happening, and it would be easy to assume from that it's because of our friend pheromones. Pheromones are used to fight off rivals. They're used to court opposite sex. So that makes perfect sense. So scientists wanted to look at these pheromones up close. So they looked at the urine. First of all, they wanted to see if the tilapias did this behavior in captivity, and they do. So it's definitely something that they could test in a lab. So they would collect this urine, and they were trying to look at the chemical structure. And so this one scientist collected urine from dominant males, purified the samples, and then was able to identify those pheromones. She found 2 pure pheromone substances, and the chemical structures were looked at using NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, and she was able to identify them from that. And the males and females each showed sensitive responses to the odor of both of these separately.
Hmm.
They're two unrelated pheromones, and they both have an effect on both sexes. And the way that they do it is pretty much what you would expect. They stimulate the hormonal system of the females to trigger spawning. They promote the development of oocytes, one of my favorite words, and they reduce aggressive behavior in rival males. So,
Is it
yeah.
oocytes or is it oocytes? Because I always said oocytes.
I've heard both. What do you say, Kiki?
Oocytes.
You say
Is what
oocytes?
I say. Yeah, I say oocytes.
Oh, I had a
Oh, oh.
professor said oocytes, and I like the way that
Oocytes.
sounded better. Oocytes.
Ooh.
Either way.
So that's really cool that we've learned this. But why? How is this helpful? And I think that it's easy to say, oh, that's so awesome that tilapia do that, and probably other fish do that. But now we can look at that in terms of aquaculture and the thing that I'd be really excited for, invasive fish species.
Try and control the species with these pheromones.
Right.
Reduce aggression, possibly, or keep fish out of certain territories.
Yeah, or reduce the development of oocytes.
Right.
So, yeah, it could definitely help control the invasive species. It could also help promote endangered species if we find more fish that do this. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, thinking about the aquaculture aspect of it, I know that salmon, for a long time, they have had issues in aquaculture as a result of farmed fish being more aggressive. There are differences between the farmed fish and the wild fish, and the farmed fish get out into the wild and they mess things up. And so if there were, ecologically, reproductively, and if there were a way to control or to manage the reproductive state of some of these animals, that would be using pheromones. It would be very, very useful.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So that's the fish pee. Now let's talk about salamander skin.
Yeah, moving on from fish pee to salamander skin.
Salamanders have really cool wound healing capabilities. And so a recent study, the Kuming Institute of Zoology at the Chinese Academy of Sciences in China, they collected skin extract from salamanders, separated it by gel filtration and high-performance liquid chromatography, and then they subjected the skin component to keratinocyte cell proliferation and endothelial cell tube formation assays. So basically, they were wounding these skin cells and watching their ability to heal. And so this wasn't on a salamander. They took it out and they kind of were looking at what chemical structures, what parts of the skin sample that they took were the ones that were responding well to healing. And they found that the ability to promote wound healing with what they call epidermal growth factor, EGF, they found specific keratinocytes, vascular endothelial cells, and fibroblasts. So basically, they found the stuff that was making it possible for this skin to heal so fast and for fast tissue formation. They also found specific elements, proteins, that promoted the release of the hormones that allow for fast cell regeneration and fast growth. So this is still very technical and not really, it hasn't been,
it's preliminary.
They haven't taken salamander skin, the stuff from it, kind of synthesized it out of it and then put it on a mouse and wounded a mouse and saw what would happen. That would probably be the next thing, is to see, okay, if we try to put this into a mouse
Can we put it into a bandage? Can we create a bandage that
That's
has
the other
these
thing.
or a gel that's put on wounds that
Right.
you just put it over a wound? Will it speed up healing and reduce
Exactly.
scarring?
So I think there's two things here. One, through gene therapy or something like that, where you can actually have the body create these things on its own. Or two, the much more interesting thing, in my opinion, would be some sort of topical application.
Mhm.
So it's very preliminary, but so far they've been able to identify the very specific elements that are causing this to be the easy regeneration in the salamanders. So very exciting. Again, it's kind of hard to vocalize because it's so technical and so preliminary at this point, but it's a huge open door for future research now to come in and take this and see how it can be applied. So that's super exciting.
I totally want gene modification. I want those genes in me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm
Can I
thinking.
regenerate a
Great.
lost limb?
No. All future generations being able to actually just spit on it and have it get better. Yeah, that's
Yeah, could we exactly? Could we produce those compounds in our saliva so that we could just spit? We already have some antibiotic compounds in our saliva, and we have some pain-killing compounds in our saliva. Let's just add more. Just spit on stuff. Heal it. There we go.
That would be so great. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So those were actually all of my animal corner stories, unless you count humans as an animal, and I'll give you a quick one.
I do. Bring it.
All right. I thought this was so great. A handsome face could mean lower sperm count in humans.
What?
Yes. Facial masculinity was negatively associated with semen quality in a recent study. Increased levels of testosterone often have been shown to impair sperm count and sperm production. So, if high testosterone means a handsome face, maybe that means a lower sperm count. And so it's
why high testosterone males would be more likely to try and have multiple mates.
There you go. It's also kind of an energetic push and pull, an energetic trade-off between what we call secondary sexual signaling, such as facial masculinity, and fertility. But this is so crazy. They, in the study, had females and males score these males on how handsome they looked, and in order to do that, they obscured their hair. It was very important that they obscure the hair in a black oval, so you just saw the face, and the hair had no account in how handsome the man was. But
because a good haircut, that can do everything.
Or it can ruin everything if it's a bad one. But the males overall estimated facial images more attractive overall than females did, suggesting that males overall overestimate the attractiveness of other men. Maybe that's because they're threatened or they see them as competition, but straight males scored other males higher than the females did, which is pretty funny. Yeah, but overall handsomeness equals lower sperm count, or is correlated to, lower sperm count.
Now, was it the same? Was that the same for men and women, though, in what they were rating?
It was averaged.
It was averaged. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But overall, they were similar. They were on a similar scale. Just overall, the numbers were higher.
Quality, is this by sheer quantity
of
sperm?
Well,
it's about sperm count.
Sperm count. That's a quantity. It would be sheer quantity if you consider it that way.
Yeah. Sperm per volume.
There's an obvious answer to this question.
How many sperm in a cubic centimeter?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there's.
What are you getting at here? What are you concerned about, Justin?
I think I know what you're talking about, and I will say this, Justin. The volume that is produced has nothing to do with sperm count.
Aha, okay, never mind then.
And on that note, I think it is time for us to go take a break. This is This Week in Science. We're going to take a brief hiatus while I tell you all sorts of ways that you can help us out. And when we come back, we will have brain-to-brain communication and more science. So stay tuned for more This Week in Science. I don't know about you, but the chat room is totally broken for me, and it's making me very sad. So if you're out there, thank you for being out there, chat room.
Mine is broken too.
Broken. The chat room's broken. It's making me very sad. We also have question and answers that I'm looking at on our Google Plus Hangout page. So if you're watching it through Google Plus Hangouts or YouTube, I believe you can ask questions if you have comments or questions in the question and answer app that goes along with the show. And then I'll try and look at the social media too. I haven't done that yet. Social media, nope, I'm not seeing anything yet. But I will tune into the social media and see what people are saying, if anyone has any relevant comments to the stories that we're talking about as we go forward. What else do I want to say? Oh, yeah. TWIS, This Week in Science, the show that you're listening to or watching right now, has merchandise that you might enjoy. We've got t-shirts, hats, we've got sweatshirts, we've got little tote bags, Christmas ornaments, keychains, stamps, so many cool things. All you have to do is head over to TWIS.org and look for our Zazzle store. Look in the main header bar, right across the top, Zazzle store, click on it and find all the TWIS swag that you can carry. They make great Christmas gifts for the people you know love TWIS, or for people that you think should love TWIS. Get my drift. Anyhow, that's TWIS.org. TWIS is supported by listeners like you through merchandise sales and also through donations. Your donations pay for our hosting, bandwidth, contractors we try to hire, fun things we do for the show, and we appreciate any amount that you're able to give, whether it's $1 or $1,000. You're helping us out, and you're really making an impact in allowing us to reach more people and tell more science stories and get more people interested in science. You are helping us do that, and you're helping us continue to entertain you as well. You make this show possible. We currently accept donations in a couple of ways. We have PayPal buttons all over our website. PayPal. It's almost like, I don't know, the Vegas Strip, the way they're popping up all over TWIS.org. So head over to TWIS.org, and if you like to donate through PayPal, you can look for one of our PayPal buttons. Additionally, we have a Patreon account. It's Patreon, patreon.com/thisweekinscience, patreon.com/thisweekinscience. You go there, you'll be able to fund us in a way similar to Kickstarter, where you give us a certain amount of money per show, and then we give you a gift in return. A bunch of people have started getting gifts recently, and it's been nice to see the photos of the unboxings come in. It's really fun to see people have little pieces of TWIS in their lives. So you can donate through Patreon or PayPal, whichever you prefer. Just go to the website, TWIS.org, listen to the most recent episode, comment, and donate if you can. If you can't afford a donation, we can always use your help getting more people listening to or watching TWIS. Use your social networks for science and tell people to tune into TWIS. We are here every week. We are every week. We've got our RSS feed. We have our YouTube channel. There are many ways people can enjoy TWIS. Just tell people about us. You might enjoy sharing. It's it's that nice feeling you get when you do a nice thing for somebody else. We thank you for your support. We really could not do this without you. Thank you.
All thanks to the words on the whole earth displays. Now due to the juices and pills and the creams, your body's lost toxins, whatever that means. You've stopped eating all of that sinister food. Your dinner tastes awful, so it's gotta be good. Still, you can't believe what a skeptic I am.
And we're back with more This Week in Science.
Oh, yeah, we are. Justin, what you got?
I've got the biggest dinosaur ever.
Ever.
Ever? Wait.
Nope, this one's bigger.
This one's bigger?
Ever.
Bigger than that other big one? The
Bigger
other
than the
biggest one ever.
How about that other one?
Ever discovered.
Nice.
Yeah, this isn't even a massive dinosaur. They're calling it a supermassive dinosaur species.
Ooh.
They've got the most complete skeleton of its type ever found. The name of the dinosaur, Dreadnaughtus Shrani. Yeah.
Is he an herbivore?
No idea. Most likely.
I love the naming recently. The last one was Titanosaurus, and now we have Dreadnaughtosaurus.
Right, and to give
Dreadnought.
to give a little perspective, the Titan, which was the last Titanosaurus type supermassive dinosaur discovered, had an estimated weight of 47 tons. That's a lot of dinosaur. Dreadnaughtus weighs in at around 65 tons.
65 tons.
65 tons, nearly a third more dinosaur.
That's 65 one-ton pickup trucks.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The Dreadnaughtus means fear nothing, I'm finding out. That's fantastic.
That's awesome. It was
That
so
what?
big, and it would just take its long neck and...
Yeah, and it is a plant eater. Definitely eats plants. Fears nothing.
Dreadnaughtus, I fear nothing. Yeah. It was named after the big battleship dreadnoughts that were used long time ago. Shrani is for the last name of not the scientist who discovered, but a entrepreneur who is financing the expeditions and the research into the dinosaur, which is interesting. Yeah, they do the measurements on weight based on they have a method of measuring weight, calculating mass for all quadrupeds based on measurement of the femur and the humerus. So that's the thigh bone and upper arm bone, and it's a pretty amazing scale because if you look at it, weight to the length of these, they track almost perfectly in a perfect line up that graph for every four-legged animal, from the mouse to the elephant. They are all fitting weight, body mass to the length of the femur tracks almost perfectly. So there's based on all the four-legged animals that we know of, it tracks really, really well. Yeah, this is they've been compiling this over years and years now. I love this one. They've got most of the vertebrae for the 30-foot-long tail. That's
Pretty long.
a pretty good tail,
Pretty big.
It's as tall as my house,
right?
right? The tail alone, as tall as my house, as long as my house is tall.
Yeah, most likely, of course, they're thinking this is an herbivore. This is just, every time we think we got there, there's something else. I can't remember what the number is. It's not in the story I got in front of me. It was another one I was looking at. Gave the size and number of T-Rexes. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's like 6.5 T-Rexes. Right?
Yeah, I have this awesome picture up. You can see if you're watching on the video that you have down there. You have the moose, just at about 1 ton, and then you have the T-Rex under 10 tons, and then you have the Brachiosaurus at 40 tons. Then you have the Boeing 737.
737.
Yeah.
50 tons.
50.
Not even. Like 45, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Down there.
yeah, and then the Dreadnaughtus is a whole 20 tons more than that. That's crazy. My question is, where was it hiding? How do we keep finding these giant things?
We keep digging. It's because we keep digging, you know?
I
You
love
just
it.
scratch
Everyone
the
keep
surface.
digging.
Everyone keep digging.
Yeah, so this is, as have been a lot of these Titanosaurus type things, this is Argentina, is the ground in which they're digging that these discoveries are being made. This particular fossil was unearthed over 4 different seasons between 2005 and 2009. They've got about 45% of the dinosaur's actual skeleton represented in the fossil find, which is a pretty darn good percentage.
I think one of the neat things about this is the bones are so large, and they're so well preserved. The images show there's muscle scarring, and so they're actually being able to go from the scars that are left in the bone from the movement of the muscles and tendons and ligaments over the bones to be able to actually determine the soft tissue components and sizes and all the properties of the muscles that allowed this giant dinosaur to move.
Sweet.
Yeah, working backwards. It's really neat.
Yeah, I guess it looks like, actually, from what I read here too, it was a makeup of 2 different skeletons that they found, and these were buried by sediments, likely from a flood, like an overflowing river or something like that. So if the river had a quick flood and these creatures got immersed, got stuck in the mud, got covered up, that's why we managed to get such a complete skeletal remain.
Nice.
Because it's, you think about it, it's got to be tougher. Really, I hadn't thought about it before. It's got to be tougher to get the big specimens, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You think if it's mud, blah, 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 but little things get covered up by mud a lot easier than big things. I mean, if only just a small portion of this dinosaur is above the mud that would normally encase a T-Rex, right? If most of it remains exposed, the elements, weather, everything takes it away, tears it up, and you're left with no fossil evidence. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Brains?
Brains.
Brains. Okay, I have a couple of studies that relate to trade-offs that are made in the brain to allow the brain to function. One focuses on development and energy allotment and concludes that toddlers grow less quickly due to the brain's energy demands. And the researchers found that they plotted these curves of brain energy use and body size of kids, so ages, ranges, etc., and ended up with a couple of very, very parallel curves that showed that when a child was small, the brain was using up and all the energy to develop, and so growth was not as fast as later times. So the brain grows more when your child is around 3-4 years old, and the body does not shoot up as quickly. And then at 9 or 10 years old, when kids start experiencing these shoots of growth, the brain is not growing or developing as much anymore. So it's interesting to get this idea. So it's like, okay, at what point is nutrition really important? When kids are really young, you want to support that brain growth a lot.
So is that why middle school is so awful?
Probably. The brain just shuts off.
Yeah. I mean, you're trying to mature. Your body is growing super fast.
Mm-hmm.
And your brain can't keep up.
Yeah,
also,
the brain is just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Men generally get bigger than women do, generally speaking, right? And their brain takes longer to stop growing.
Yeah. Brain and body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. I think it seems very interesting that just the energy, this is one of the first studies that really is showing that the energy demands of the brain are so intense that it probably does have some kind of evolutionary trade-off with body growth and the development of the body.
Yeah, everything's a trade-off. You only have so much energy. It all comes down to those thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, right?
Right.
Matter cannot be created or destroyed. So you have a finite amount of resources. Sometimes it's going to go to your brain, and sometimes it's going to go to your
To your
other
body,
areas.
to other areas. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that was interesting. The other study concludes that the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, like in here, it's actually like in here somewhere, operates in part. It's one of the things that it does, has a lot of cognitive functions, but it helps to balance honesty and self-interest, and that damage to the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex results in more self-interested behavior. So it's a trade-off within the brain between these two modes of behavior. You can be honest or you can be self-interested. And as social animals, very often it's better to be honest and to, sometimes give up personal gain, that self-interest side of things, in order to help others. And this area of the brain has possibly developed specifically to help us control the natural self-interested aspects of our psyche. That being self-interested is what came first, and then we have to have other areas to control it. The researchers at the Institute, Virginia Tech Carillon Research Institute, and the Department of Psychology have been looking at the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. They put people through these basically like trust games where it was like, okay, person, you can have 1 cent, and you can tell this person a lie, or you can tell them the truth, or you can take money away from this other person, but you can lie about it or tell the truth. And they had these tests that went back and forth. And they also, and to be able to figure out that this dorsolateral prefrontal cortex was involved, is that they had people specifically within the study who had damage to that area of the brain, and they found that those people were just dishonest, just not able to. They just didn't manage the honesty side of things, and they were much more likely to take money or to hurt other people in this theoretical situation in the laboratory than to do things that would potentially not give themselves gain. So next, they're going to be doing functional brain imaging and economic modeling to try and really figure out how this area of the brain works. And then brain. Let's talk to each other with our brains.
Okay, go.
Is it working? Is it working? Are we talking? My brain is using my mouth to communicate something to you right now.
There you go. Voice activated. Voice
Yes.
activated brain transfers.
And your brain is using...
The future is now.
The future is now. And your brain is using visual and auditory input to understand what my brain is trying to tell you with this voice. The fascinating thing here is that researchers in Spain have used the internet and electrodes to be able to take the signal from one brain of a person saying,
Hola.
Hola. Ciao.
Hola.
Exactly. So the person in their head was going, okay, hola, ciao. And they recorded the activity from the brain, and they, because it always makes that sound when it goes into a computer. They put it into a computer, and then they transmitted this signal, this digital signal, to which they changed it to binary, actually. They took the code, changed it to binary, sent it over the internet's 5,000 miles. And then the receiving individuals had a little cap on, little electrodes on, and they didn't actually hear the word hola in their head. What they got was a series of light flashes in their eyes called phosphenes. stimulation of a particular area of the head creates perceived light in the brain from the eyes. And so that's what they saw. And it was basically like Morse code, except binary Morse code, and then they had to translate it into hola or ciao.
So this is the part of the study that perplexes me.
Yes.
What were they translating? What was the code breaker that they were using?
Right, they were given a code breaker for the light flashes.
Right, but were the light flashes simply the result of the other brain's activity, or was it? Because it is. I guess it is. I guess that's why this story is interesting. It is the result simply of that flashing, and they've decoded what somebody would have been thinking, what Ola looks like in output.
I think it would be much more interesting if they were actually like seeing a letter in their mind's eye.
Right.
The light flashes. It is a way to communicate. This seems like we're going backwards in the fine-tuned aspect of the communication that we have.
We have cell phones now. If this was 50 years ago, 60 years ago, if this was 80 years ago, this would be extremely amazing. And it is in how they're doing it, but I'm not getting it.
I'm with you there, Justin. Actually, I'm not. This study, I was like, yeah, I saw brain-to-brain communication, and everybody's jumping all over the place, and I'm just like, but it's the. Can you call me when it's more exciting? Can you? It's
when we can each wear a hat and hear each other's thoughts.
Yeah.
That's
and then
where
will
I
that
would
be better than? I feel like that's going to be. I feel like I won't be able to talk to anybody that way. I feel like there'll be a lot of feedback. I feel like there'll be even more like sub-referencing, sub-tangenting. A joke that I start to tell, but then don't tell, and try to tell a different one instead.
Cricket.
Like what would be amazing is if you could. I mean, in one of the quotes from this article I've got here is saying, "We believe these experiments represent an important first step in exploring the feasibility of complementing or bypassing traditional language-based or motor-based communication." So imagine you're connected to somebody else. You know, it's a long-distance boyfriend or girlfriend. You're thousands of miles away from each other because you're in college on other sides of the country, and you want to have your girlfriend experience the dream that you had last night as you remember it, but without telling her about it. So you both have these little caps, and you're plugged into your computers over the internet, and you can dream, you can imagine, think the images that you saw and the story without the confusion of words that sometimes don't really correctly get at everything that happens in a metaphorical dream state. And so your girlfriend or boyfriend will be on the other end getting those images and just seeing the images that you're sending in their mind's eye. That to me that's the ultimate.
That is dangerous. You're right. That is extremely.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like
that could wreck marriages.
Yeah, how often do you actually tell your significant other 100% truth?
Exactly what you dreamt.
Not often. Oh yeah, there was this other person there. I don't know who it was. Definitely wasn't your sister.
It looks like you. You know how the subconscious sometimes fills in like other things, even when you don't mean it to. Oh.
But I think, for people who, it would be trouble, but for people with sensory disabilities or, people who have been blind for years, maybe you can, send visual images to them of movies that you're watching with only a very slight delay. Maybe you can send them images of, your trip to Paris or, whatever it is. Give somebody a different experience. The experience of your visual mind.
There's an entirely new job out there. Because, you got the little person down in the bottom of the screen who's really good at doing in-time, real-time sign language. you get a fantastic visualizer, somebody who has processes has a good eye for detail, who's watching something, noticing a lot of things about it, right? Noticing it very visually.
Yes.
It's the person that you'd want to have wearing the cap that's sending it out to everybody who's blind or in a coma. Right? Because you couldn't just computer generate it at this point. You would need an intermediary. You need an observer who's processing it and translating it from the visual world into BrainThink. Although, small leap then to, Pixar movies being able to be directly downloaded into BrainThink.
Into brains, right?
And then we could also be monitoring people in a coma. We could send messages, see if they respond, see what's going on. There's all sorts of fascinating stuff.
All
if this
sorts
thing was working.
Yeah. So it's a proof of concept in the most basic sense. The very basic thing that they have done, not so exciting, not so interesting, whatever. But as you can see from our conversation, where it could go eventually is the really, the imagination of where this technology could go if we figure it out. That's what we're getting at here.
But I'm still interested. I'm still trying to figure out, was there a code maker in the middle of this? Like, was it...
It had to have been.
Yeah. Like, say it was Morse code, but one only had to think Ola. How did the thing know to translate it into Ola? Like, am I missing something here? Because otherwise, they've broken the code on the brain and can simply read people's thoughts.
Well, it's very likely that Ola and Chow, that they were sent as, they were thought, and maybe the letters were thought, or the person said the words, and as they're being said, maybe whatever the word, I don't know. I don't know the details.
The flicker of light that got caused by somebody else's thought, sent binarily through an internet and retransmogrified into brain waves that were sent into a brain. But where is this Rosetta Stone of brain activity into direct language? I don't think there is one.
No.
Yes. Babblefish will solve everything.
Was it sounds that they were picking out, or was it words, or was it... Yeah. That's what.
And it just flashes of light. So who's already? No, something's wrong. So, and again, even the best version of telepathy, or of telepathic communication, still can't outdo a cell phone these days. So.
Okay, so looking at a graphic that's over from PLOS ONE. That was posted at CNET, what looks most likely is it's not a direct translation, that there were two words that could have been sent, and one was they were translated into binary in the computer. So one was Ola, and that probably equaled 0, and Chow probably equaled 1.
So what would happen
if
that
goes in the computer? Yeah, and then you get a phosphine or no phosphine. And if you don't get a phosphine, you'd say Ola. If you do get a phosphine, you say Chow.
That's what I thought corn on the cob, what would happen?
Nothing.
Be confused.
Yeah.
Error. Reject.
Error.
Okay, so that is what it is. So it is the code maker in the middle, which is basically no different than, again, how it can be recorded. I mean, it doesn't need, you said switch on, switch off. You got one flash or you got two flashes. And the thing was looking for a longer thought pattern for the word, or more brain activity, or a little bit less for the shorter word. Boom, boom, it sent the two things. You received, it's going to be one of these two things. It's the longer one, so it's that one. That's worse than Morse code.
Yeah,
because humans
more underwhelming for sure.
Like big picture in binary. You may have configured a method of communication for telecommunications long range circa 1920. Like, that's not gonna.
Yeah.
That's not it. That's not. We want more than that. got to get the thing out of the middle.
We want
and
more.
probably the biggest obstacle to that level of mind-to-mind communication is that our minds don't form the same. I would be extremely amazed to find that one set of visualizing things in one mind is even translatable to another mind.
Well, no, I disagree with that. We have very common representations for things. We all know what an apple looks like. We all know what a table looks like. We all know what a light looks like.
Is it fired off in the same way in our brain? That's the question.
So yeah, is the exact is how
if
it is.
I'm storing
fired
apple
in
over
the
here and
brain.
over here and over here and a little bit over there, and also I got Snow White over here.
Specifically within the visual cortex, you can get signals that are at image level. They have, at this point in time, they've recorded from cat brains in the visual cortex, high level, not the beginning of the visual pathway, but the visual cortex, and they've been able to actually get
of the
images. Yeah, the
I'm
shape
saying
of an object.
Recollection. And the recollection of the object? Because the recollection of the object is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, not recollection, but like the cat is looking at something and they're recording from the visual cortex and able to get basically the same image from the brain.
Coming in. Got it. The problem is, I think there's going to be a way in which that image is stored that when it comes back into memory as output, so to speak, it may not look like the same. I mean, it might not look like an apple. It might be stored in such a complete.
My apple looks like a corn on the cob.
Well, right, because I figure what you'd be communicating across if these two brains are linked, and I'm just communicating my output to your output, is your brain is going to read it as pick up this information from neurons over in this direction, pick up some more information from these neurons over here, put them together. And while I may have stored bits of apple in each of these parts of my brain that I'm telling you to go access in your own brain, you may have something very non-apple-like there. So
the way that I foresee this kind of playing out is I don't see people getting deep brain implants that would be within certain memory areas of the brain in order, at least not yet, that what people would be most likely to do, that there are all these EEG type caps that are being made now for gaming and entertainment by companies. They're consumer level products. You stick them on your head. You are wired up to a computer. Computer can read your quote unquote thoughts. What they will become is sensitive enough to be able to make out to be able to read out what signals are occurring within your visual cortex. To be able to read out that the signals in the visual cortex are these particular things, and there might be some kind of a standardization process that you have to go through where you set up your computer and it shows you a picture of an apple, and so you see that, and then it gets the signal, and you have to maybe go through a bunch of standard items and basically teach your computer what your brain thinks those things look like.
And right now, if I was doing it, every time I saw an apple, my brain would register corn on the cob.
Just because.
Don't think about the elephant.
Don't think about the corn on the cob.
Yeah. Great.
Love this story. Alrighty. Who else has stories? We are just running this show in.
Oh my goodness. I have a couple diabetes stories that are pretty interesting.
Bring it.
What's the most important meal of the day, everybody?
It's always been told to me that it's breakfast.
Dinner.
Lunch?
Those are all of the options. So
afternoon snack?
It is indeed breakfast, at least when it comes to diabetes. In the UK, they looked at over 4,000 primary school children from 9 to 10 years old. And they asked the children questions about how often and what they ate for breakfast. And then they tested their blood, measuring diabetes risk on certain markers like fasting insulin, glucose, and glycated hemoglobin. And this is shocking to me that 26% of the 9 to 10-year-olds just don't eat breakfast. More than a quarter don't eat breakfast every single day. The ones who don't eat breakfast had higher fasting insulin, higher insulin resistance, and a higher glycated hemoglobin, meaning they were more predisposed to diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And additionally, among the children who had a 24-hour dietary recall where they wrote down everything they ate, those who had high fiber cereal breakfast had lower of all of those values than those that ate other types of food, like what the UK calls biscuit-based breakfasts, basically sweet breakfasts.
Yeah.
So what you eat counts, but breakfast, really eating breakfast is important, and you need to have a balanced high fiber breakfast, and that is going to cut down on your chances of getting diabetes.
Nice, good to know.
Yeah, additionally, they tested a different study, tested twins for similar markers. They were looking at specifically twins where one twin was heavier than the other twin, basically skinny twin, fat twin, right? So in that, they were looking at blood levels in order to see if they were predisposed to type 2 diabetes, pretty similar levels, the classic stuff. And they were looking at, first of all, the heavy versus the fit twin, and then they fed them both fast food, and then they looked at their blood. And as far as they can tell, those the insulin levels and all sorts of other things like that related to type 2 diabetes were pretty similar after the fast food, whether you were fit or not. So really, it's what you're eating, it's not how fit you are. Even if you go running every day and you're still eating a lot of fats and sugars, you can get type 2 diabetes even if you're in shape. So when people with diabetes are told to lose weight, that's kind of the wrong message. What they need to be told is to eat healthy.
More healthily, yeah.
Those two things are very different. So it's not about the number of calories, it's not about the fat percentage, it's about the type of food you're putting into your body.
Yeah, you gotta have fiber. You need to have lower the sugars, have whole grains if you're gonna have grains.
Yeah.
Eat yummy fruits and vegetables.
Yes. So eat breakfast, eat fruits and vegetables, and my last quick story, I also prescribe all of you music.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So there was actually a 2-year study. So it was a pretty long study on at-risk youth and what happens when you give them free community music lessons. And they found that community music programs, these free community music programs, literally remodeled children's brains in a way to improve sound processing, which could lead to better learning and language skills. So they did brain imaging. They did they used a powerful neural probe they did imaging and they gauged speech processing. And they found that after 2 years of music training, the brain changed.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, so music is great, guys.
Music is great, guys. Love that. Cancer scanner. Researchers have developed a handheld Raman laser scanner that can detect Raman scattering nanoprobes that are contained in malignant tumor cells during surgery. This is really exciting, especially for glioblastomas that are very hard to remove all of the cells. The idea is that they inject these nanoprobes into the blood. They specifically target tumor cells only. And so then while surgeons are doing surgery, you remove the mass of the tumor, and then you have this laser scanner that will actually show you, pinpoint where tumor cells still remain, even though they might not be visually distinctive to the surgeon's eye.
This sounds kind of like a tricorder, a little bit.
Right, kind of like a tricorder. And the cool thing about this also is that they did all this work with mice and tumors in mouse brains, but all of the technology that this is developed on has been approved for use in other applications. So this could be on the fast track to actually being implemented very soon, which would be really neat advance. Yeah, an amazing advance in fighting cancer.
Awesome.
Yeah. NASA's Opportunity rover has amnesia. So they're going to give it, I know, they're going to give it a memory wipe. They're going to wipe and reformat its flash memory system and decrease its reliance on the malfunctioning flash memory cells. And hopefully then it'll still be able to work a little bit longer, extend its lifespan and usefulness a little bit longer. It's always interesting doing this kind of IT work on something that's on another planet.
Yeah. I just picture kind of Wally all of a sudden looking around going, where am I?
Eva. And 5 geckos were sent into orbit by the Russians to have sex. However, the ship malfunctioned. They all froze to death. None returned to Earth alive. It's questionable whether or not they lived long enough to do the deed.
Poor things. They thought they were going on this awesome vacation.
Spacecation!
Yeah!
Oh,
You mean we're going to go to space, and all we have to do is copulate.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Oh, no. It went horribly, horribly wrong.
That's a whole other thing in itself, though, because that's not as easy as people might imagine.
Copulating in space?
In 0 Gs?
Right. There's a whole
They're
book on
geckos,
this.
though. They can
I
stick
know,
to the wall.
I know. Geckos might be the only thing that can survive in space. That might be why.
I want them to try this study over again. Let's try again. Better luck next time. And a company called Clear Flight Solutions is 3D printing robotic birds of prey to help keep unwanted birds at bay. They're actually, you like my little rhyme there?
It's so good. Can I have a 3D printed bird of prey? I want one.
They're really cool. They're
Pictures?
they're very pretty birds actually. Robo-printed birds. Let's see if I can share this. Here is a falcon, robo-printed falcon.
Whoa!
Yeah. They use flapping wing flight for propulsion, and they have a flight that is comparable to real birds. And the idea is that airports, other places in which you might not want birds around that could get in the way of sensitive things like engines or other stuff, you can use birds of prey. And these robo-printed, 3D printed robo-birds have a profile just like real birds of prey. And so birds will hopefully scatter and not be and be dissuaded from hanging out wherever these birds are.
Are they remote controlled?
Yeah, they can be remote. They are remote controlled.
That's so great. A remote control falcon.
Right? They're really strong too. The body is, they use a glass fiber nylon composite, so it's lightweight, and they're laser sintered in glass-filled polyamide. So what the company's Nico Nijenhuis says in Wired is that you can crash these things into the ground at 50 kilometers per hour and almost nothing will break.
What?
Yeah. It's like a toy plane, but a flapping bird.
So these will be sold for Christmas this year, I'm guessing.
I hope so. I want one.
Yeah. You can't do it during a bird migration or we'll ruin everything.
Yeah, that might, yeah. I'll wait until after migration season.
Yeah.
Nah. Any more stories, kids? Headlines, Justin?
I lost one. I don't remember if it was a fish or a frog.
Oh, this is good science.
Yeah, this is great
I
science.
gotta go find it. But it might have been fish. Or some kind of crab or frog or something that has broods of little hatchlings.
Okay.
They found that when some of them got eaten, the rest sped up how quick they matured and hatched, versus ones that hadn't been eaten on at all. It's an amazingly interesting story, but I can't find it anywhere now.
Huh. Well, minions, find it. Send it to us on the Twitters.
Blair will do it next.
Yeah.
Next week. Oh, an experience. If you have a choice, and you do, in life, between buying that shiny new toy and taking that fun vacation, take the fun vacation. It turns out you experience more happiness from the experiences and the vacations that you take in life than you do the things you purchase. And it's kind of interesting. It's both. They're saying both before and after, because there's, I guess, some anxiety towards purchasing a thing. There's more in this explanation. They say there's more fighting that takes place in line to buy something that's on sale than you would find in people, waiting in line to pay for a trip to go somewhere. I don't know if that's a good example, but in the fond remembering of things, you remember the experiences you had, the trips you took, the places you went better and more reticently happy in the now than you do things you purchased, which I actually, that makes total perfect sense, right? Like, all of the things that you got for Christmas as a kid, I don't even remember what they were. There was this thing, there was that thing, but who cares? But I have with me, the childhood memories of going to this place, that place, vacations with family, vacations with friends. These things stay with you forever. So if you have a choice between buying the shiny new toy and taking the adventure, go with adventure.
Adventure! Unless, of course, the toy is something adventurous. Because that could be a memory.
Unless you're CR1 in the chat room who claims to have every Cracker Jack's box toy he ever collected.
All right, everyone. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us about your favorite toy memory. What do you remember?
Toy or even...
Toy or adventure. Toy or adventure.
Or, no, think about it in terms of technology. Like that great... as happy as I was with that last computer I got. When I got it, I was so stoked. It was the greatest, the best, the newest. By the time I was done with it, it's like, yeah, it doesn't really work right. The drive keys for the thing freezes up. The video cards, they entropy. Whereas your memory of your trip doesn't entropy. It doesn't continue to get worse and break down and not function as a good memory anymore. It continues to be there.
Ah, the chat room found your story. It's frogs.
It is frogs. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, so this is, isn't that how is that communication? How is it the little about to be hatched frogs are looking out going, oh boy, hey guys, we better get out of here quick. I'm getting out of here before lunchtime anyway, because this is, tree frogs speed up their life cycle when becoming lunch.
Maybe more on that next week.
Yeah, bring that one next week, Blair, because that's that's an awesome looking story.
Teaser.
All right, everyone, it's time for shout-outs. I would love to give shout-outs to everyone who has supported us on Patreon. Kevin Donald Wesley Ballard, Paul D. Disney, Sam Winsier, John Ratnaswamy, Rudy Garcia, Aubrey Burgess, Patrick Cohn, Stephen B., Jason Dozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Andreas Akestad, and Jason Roberts. Shane and Tara Ginsberg, Brian Condren, Byron Lee, E.O., Bob Calder, Jared Lysette, Ulysses Adkins, Jake Jones, Casey Lester, Chris Cross, Sarah Chavis, Stephen Soroyech, Layla Amir Sadeghi, Paul Stanton, Marshall Clark, Charlene Davidson Henry, Violated Gorilla, Don Komarechka, Randy Mazuka, Ed Dyer, Tony Steele, Larry Garcia, Kevin Parachan, Jim Drapeau, Darren Lute, Tara Payne, Alex Wilson, Daryl Lambert, John H. Maloney, Jason Olds, Lord Trentonian Moody, Gordon Grant, James, Paul West, Lauren Lang, Tuomas Maikanen, Alec Doty, Illuma Lama, Nick Gradwell, Dan Rambo, Dougal Campbell, TMRO, Miko Pakola, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Jason Martin, Marjorie, Scott Lejewski, Philip Shane, Tyler Harrison, Ben Rothig, Columbo Ahmed, and Gary Swinsberg. Thank you so much for your support. We do appreciate it so much. On next week's show, once again, We'll be broadcasting live online, 8 p.m. Pacific time on twis.org/live. You can watch and join our chat room. You can do it. You should do it. But don't worry if you can't make it, because you can listen to us. We have an RSS feed at our website, twis.org. You also can get our episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/user This Week in Science. Don't forget to tell a friend about TWIS, and to check out our Patreon account, patreon.com/This Week in Science.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. TWIS is also available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory. Or if you have a mobile device, you can search for TWIS for Droid in the Android marketplace, or TWIS, TWIS, in the Apple marketplace.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website. What's our website? It's www.twis.org. That's TWIS.org. You can also make comments and start conversations there with the hosts and other listeners.
Or you can contact us directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, somewhere in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIS Science, at Dr. Kiki, at JacksonFly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, or a haiku that came to you in the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for some more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from today's show, remember,
it's all in your head.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world, so I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice, show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand, and all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. This week's science is coming your way, so everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just better understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And This Week in Science is coming your way, so everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address, from stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say, and if you've learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. 'Cause it's This Week in Science.
This week in science. This week in science. 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 This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. 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 This week in 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 science.
What is up? Whoa. We're in the post show now, everyone. Our show is done. Officially 1.5 hours long. We are now doing that regularly again. It's a regular occurrence.
Let's try to fix it again, I guess.
It's just so hard. There's so many stories. I understand. I know it. I need to be on it myself. It's just sometimes you want to talk about stuff. I think it's fine for the podcast to be like 1.5 hours, although people sometimes don't want to listen to the whole thing. But
yeah, I think the most
for
successful
radio,
audio,
it needs to be an hour.
I think the most successful audio podcasts are usually pretty close to an hour.
Yep. I'm sad.
Does that mean we're going to be more than just successful? Because
Yes.
we're longer than an hour now?
I love the way your brain works.
You know what I
So
heard?
let's play the guessing game because a bunch of people
So
in
sad.
the
I didn't
chat
get to
room are
say
wondering.
Violated Gorilla. Violated Gorilla was off of our Patreon list this week.
You said it.
No, I heard it.
Did I say Violated Gorilla?
You did.
Absolutely. I do a little.
Oh, I did. There it is. Okay, I'm happy again. I was sad for a second. I was like, I didn't say it, but I did say it. It's an eagle. Oh, what happened to my necklace again? I took it off.
This isn't an eagle.
That's not an
That's,
eagle.
no, that's a rodent.
It's not a rodent.
This
Wait,
is not an eagle either. This is not an eagle.
Turn it. Oh, okay.
He
It's
does have the
a.
sharp, pointy teeth, but rodent teeth are orange or yellow.
Oh.
Yeah, we've talked about this particular
Is it a
skull
mole?
of yours before.
You have a crow there, Kiki, right? Isn't that what that is? No?
No, too small to be a crow. I
Oh.
think it's more likely to be a jay.
Yeah, so corvid
It's a
family
jay.
still.
It
for
is
sure.
corvid family, yes.
Mhm. Yes, this is a lagomorph.
Beak. Lagomorph. Hello, lagomorph. That would be a
Kiki knows
wabbit.
what it is. It's a wabbit.
It's a wabbit.
Everyone always thinks it's a bird.
It doesn't
I
look
just
like a
looked it up.
bird, but
Yeah.
then again, I have special knowledge
Yeah.
of bird skulls, so
You can see how, because of, here, ready for my nerd to come out? Because of the diastema in this skull, it looks like a bird beak, but it just lacks the lateral incisors because it doesn't need to
It doesn't
pinch
need
down on
them.
things. Yeah, it just needs to pinch off things and then it
And
needs to grind them down.
Burning Man. How was Burning Man this year compared to past years? It was
I
great.
heard it was canceled.
Okay, so let me tell you something. It was not canceled. They shut the gates for, I guess it might have been a day almost, 12-hour period at least, maybe 24 hour. There was a big storm, lots of water laid onto the playa, so there were puddles that were causing vehicles to get stuck and people to get stuck and all sorts of stuff. So they basically shut the gates and tried to wait for it to dry out. And in the process, the police cleared the highway. You go up 80 into past Reno, Nevada, and then take Highway 447, I believe, out towards Gerlach and the Black Rock Desert. And the police stopped traffic getting off of 80 that was going toward the festival. Stopped it. Cleared the road for basically 75 miles and did not allow people to come in. And so, yeah, But then they started opening it up again, and everyone came. If you had a ticket, you could go. They didn't cancel it. They just stopped people coming in for a little while. There were already a bunch of people in there who couldn't leave for a while either. Burning Man never canceled.
WizMike in the chat room asks, how are the shorts working out? And I think they've been getting pretty decent numbers.
Kiki?
Oh, you're not talking about shorts?
No, the TWIS shorts.
Our shorts are doing fairly well. Yeah, it's great.
Should we sell booty shorts in the TWIS store?
Right.
In the Zazzle store?
TWIS shorts. It's funny.
Okay, now I want to look at our YouTube.
I want a pair.
I want a pair too. I think I might know someone that could do that for us.
Yeah, let's see, I'm not in there. Let's see. I can go from here to there. The TWIS shorts, depending on how much they have been shared, they are performing fairly well. Some of them are a couple thousand views. We've only done 4 so far.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And I did that random, like, spermy thing. What happened with that? It, like, fell down the list.
yes, it's down the list somewhere. Where is it? Yeah,
I think it's not in the shorts, right?
should be. I don't know. The Plants
it
Have
is.
Memory has 3,000 views. Lots of thumbs up. Lots of thumbs up. I got 1,700 views for Neurogaming. Lots of thumbs ups.
Oh.
Which brings me to this story I wanted to talk about.
Here's the sperm update.
People-
1,300 views.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
People using social media to judge their performance and things. There's not a story here. There is though, but I don't have it.
You know
It would be great though if I
are you
had
making things up again?
if I had just created this conversation in order to segue into a story,
But you don't have the story
I
to
don't have the
segue
story.
into. It's a shame.
Ulysses
And shame.
asks Jacksonville, what is the brew of the night? You know, I can't wait to find out. I'm because I've learned that this is now possible, I am going to be house and dog sitting tonight for somebody who brews beer. And I've been told
Is that Roy?
that my payment is the refrigerator full of beer.
It's going to take the whole
Go
refrigerator.
through the beer in the fridge, drink what you want, hang out with the dog. So
Take what you want.
I don't know, but likely a good mix of cheap beer and not cheap beer. Probably a good collection of microbrews. There might even be a growler or two in the mix in there. So
Nice. What else is happening?
Cool.
We have to share our TWIS shorts.
Cool,
Yes,
cool.
Kevin, unique. Burning Man, one of the cheapest festivals. $420 ticket and parking, and you bring everything and don't buy anything there. It's true, but I swear you can do it cheaply. You can. But
wait, how long
it's
is
like I think it should be renamed Burning Money
Wait a sec.
because there's
No,
always
how long is the trip?
something.
How long does Burning Man go on?
However long you want to be there, but it's a week.
It's a week. Okay. So
It's a
tell
week.
me where you can get lodgings for a week and entertainment for $420.
Yeah, so you bring a tent or you bring your car or your van or your RV or whatever it is that you're going to sleep in, and you park it and you stay there. You bring all your own food, you bring your own water, you bring ice, but they do sell ice and coffee at the event. Those are the two things that are sold at Burning Man, ice and coffee. Yeah, and then the entertainment. It's amazing. There's 24 hours a day. There is entertainment in this city of 70,000 people, 65,000, 70,000 people. I mean, there's anything you could ever imagine. It's happening. There were scientific lectures out there. There was an observatory. They built an observatory this year. A real observatory
That
with
would
a
be awesome.
telescope and a Martian meteorite in it. They there are these giant art cars that drive around and they'll pick you up and take you for a ride around the art in the desert, and there's music. There's these big clubs. There's like club districts where it's just like boom, 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 boom all the time. And then there's little back neighborhoods where there are these cool little bars that you find, and I don't know. There's just so many neat things. It's like anything you could ever imagine. It's out there. I found a staircase. I found a
Leading to
staircase.
nothing?
Yeah, it was at the very, very back of Burning Man. Like it's like out away, like the playa, the Esplanade and the playa is where you think of everything going on. And then there's like streets that go back. And this was the very last street of the city. I'm wandering and I'm like, that's a staircase. And it was just a staircase that went up to a platform. And so you go up and they had a giant disco ball hanging underneath the platform. It was probably like 10 feet in diameter. And then on top of the platform, they had like the viewing things that you see like when you go to any national park to look at vistas, where you put in a quarter and you're able to, gives you a little magnification. And basically, but it was free. You didn't have to put 25 cents in. But you stood up there and you could see everything. You could see everything. It was just the staircase. Someone just built a staircase and put it in the very back.
Cool.
I mean, there's just amazing structures that people bring out there just because.
So
It's wonderful.
I have logistical questions. Like, are there porta potties?
That's all. They're everywhere. That's
what
all there are.
So the money that you that you're paying for the ticket, because you're not paying for band lineups or anything like that. It's not a music festival where you're paying somebody's salary there. I mean, the money is going toward infrastructure. There are lights that run on some of the streets and in Center Camp and that go out to the man. There are solar panels that have been purchased and are used to generate power for the infrastructure of the ice camps and the coffee camp, the Center Camp that serves coffee. There are porta potties that are serviced daily. There are trucks, water trucks that come and drive around and spray water on the streets to try and keep the dust down daily. There's the building of the man, which took, I don't remember all the numbers, but a massive number of volunteers and a couple of weeks to erect because it was just so massive this year. So there are all sorts of things that the money goes toward, and it's not the same kinds of things that you would get at that you would be paying for at a normal festival.
Right, but a big one is just rows and rows of porta potties.
Rows and rows of porta potties. They're like every other block.
5,000 people.
It's a city.
Blair.
I'm just thinking towards day 7 in the desert. It's starting to be ripe.
Yeah, and so one of the cool things someone in the chat room mentioned, Burning Man did have a live feed, so you could go to Ustream and actually watch.
The porta potties.
Sometimes they were at the porta potties, sometimes they were out other places, but there was a live stream. There were a couple of live streams from Burning Man that you could watch during the week. It was great because I came back Saturday before the burn actually happened, and driving back in to get back home, I was like, oh, the burn's going to happen. So I get out my phone and was able to watch the burn on my phone as we're driving. I wasn't even there anymore. It was great. Technology! Bringing Burning Man to the universe. So the man is built during the festival. No, the man is built just before the festival. There are people who come out and work for several weeks before the event gets started just to lay the streets out, to lay the infrastructure, to build the man, all sorts of things. Ulysses, there are regional Burning Man festivals. So they're called regional burns, and I think there are a couple of East Coast burns, and they're smaller in scale, but so fun because it's just the community aspect of people getting together, building things, doing neat stuff. it's the same idea. So check out if you are interested the regional burns for Burning Man, and those happen throughout the year, which is kind of neat. So you don't have to be just in the Burning Man time frame.
And Blair, Ulysses in the chat room is pointing out the thing you might find even more repulsive than the plethora of porta potties, which is that nobody there likely has brought a shower with them.
No, people bring showers. There's sun showers all over the place.
I'm showering in sunlight. Woo, I'm clean now. No, put your arms down. I'm just making fun of smelly hippies. I would love to go. I think I would have a blast there.
I think you would have an absolute blast.
Good.
I know, but the more this one's gonna be cold. I think we should do the Black Bear Ranch though. Still, I think that would be a good twist short or twist long short, long version of a short
Twist
episode.
Twist.
An episode there would be awesome.
Yeah, I like. Are the regional burns baby burns? Kind of like. Yeah, there are regional burns. Actually, yeah, but there are regional burns actually all around the world. There are communities. There are burns that you can go to in Africa, in Australia, Germany. Like people are starting their own burns. You know, it's at a smaller scale. This is the main event, but it's become something that what everybody comes back from the event wanting to take the community feeling and all of the inspiration and creativity and the work ethic. People do so much stuff out there to bring it back to this world, the regular workaday world, and bring some of the practices, radical inclusion, radical self-reliance. These there are these 10 commandments of Burning Man that if you can apply them to business or to community or your local space, it could really make a difference if people would really start thinking about these things and applying them.
Well, to an extent, that's just over analyzing it to a degree that just makes it ridiculous. Come on, Kiki. I know you love the Burning Man, but as a model for society, it's probably put out more carbons than a NASCAR race. If people are self-reliant,
I won't argue with that.
People are being self-reliant as long as they don't have to worry about plumbing or electricity because that's being provided to them to an extent. There's an element of just, when you go camping, you pack in what you need for the time that you're going to be there, and you pack it out again when you're done. That's not Burning Man didn't invent any. This is just basic. This is just basic camp.
It's basic camping.
Just
it's survival camping though. You're out in the desert.
Just because there's not like Wi-Fi on the cell phones for the city folk who've gone to the desert does not make this survival training.
No, I'm not going to say that it is survival training in any means, but it does allow people to relate to each other in a different way so that it kind of breaks down the walls that are normally existing within, say, a city, an urban city.
Right, because in a city-urban environment, you have several different castes of economic groups intermingling, so it's not as safe to go out and get high and wander the streets. Whereas if you pre-select for a certain economic class first, and a like-mindedness in a certain extent, and a lack of policing, then you can be a great party. That's not how you're going to maintain a society for any length of time. Come on.
I think there are aspects of it that could maintain a society for a significant length of time. Yes, this is...
Eliminate anybody who can't make the cover charge. 1. Plus the ability to transport yourself in an insane distance. There are grants.
There are grants that are offered to people of low income to try and let people come. There are tours that are offered to individuals from retirement communities in the Reno area. They actually bring out buses of convalescents to show them around Burning Man every so often. Yes, I agree with the things that you're saying to a certain degree. There are difficulties to the large scale of society and to maintaining it. There are things, however, that Burning Man is doing and investing in that are sustainable practices and that are
Sure.
the things. So,
But the
so let
event
me tell you.
what you're experiencing there is like-minded
Event.
people of an somewhat equal, not equus, but at least a bottom cutoff for economic ability. You know, I mean, yeah, you can form a more perfect society if you get rid of the poor people, right? And have only like-minded people who are there for the same, working on the same specific goal in an entertainment-oriented fashion. I mean, I don't know. I would like to think that that's what our society needs, you know. But what is that? I mean, not that I would like to see. What am I saying? I would like to say that reforming society would be that easy, but what is that easy? That easy means we go somewhere, form our own society, separate from everybody who doesn't fit into that society, and then we'll all get along. It's actually a separatist view.
But it's not separatist, though. That's the thing. If people can come and if we can help them be a part of it, then we want them to.
Well,
And
I
we
don't know.
want everyone to be there.
Be explicitly in its you know, in its charter attempting to eliminate certain people from coming there, but it's going to only attract those people which it's looking to attract to it.
Sure. I will, yeah, I'll agree with that. And it's going to attract people who are looking for a certain experience or...
Which not
Yeah,
unlike
which
why
is
I
fine.
choose to live in Davis. Honestly, not
Yeah.
very much not because I choose to
Why
live
do we
because
why do we go anywhere? Why do we do anything? It's
Right.
because we're attracted to certain features or aspects of
I
something.
love the fact that Davis is not only an affluent town, which is more or less the annoying part of it sometimes because it makes everything expensive to, you know, survive here, but it's a university town based around a university, so most of the people who are here willing to pay the stupid high rent are somehow involved in higher education, whether it's their own or in educating others or working at the facilities that do the education. The level of education here is such that I'm comfortable with my neighbors and the people who I meet walking down the street.
Mm-hmm. I think an interesting aspect of, you know, the thing that I find exciting about the community at Burning Man is that they are people who want to make a difference in the world, whether it's a small scale difference or massive. They want to create something. They want to help people. They want to make a difference in some way. They want to educate people. They want to work on sustainability. They want to work on climate. They want to work on science, you know, whatever they're going to go into. They're part of the tech industry in Silicon Valley, or you know, they're people who they're there and they're inspired, and this is, you know, it's a creative outlet to be part of Burning Man. And everyone needs a creative outlet because that inspires more creativity in the rest of your life.
Totally agree with that. Absolutely. But I don't think the event works as well if you mix in a bunch of people who out of necessity have to be looking out for their own self-interest in the now.
Right.
And don't have the luxury or the time or the energy to spend on worrying about others in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, when I came back from Burning Man, my friends who watched Kai, they taught him to say, "Mommy, first, Mommy," what do they say? First world problems. That was it. So I came back and I said something, and he looks at me and goes, "Mommy, first world problems."
Did they not warn you? You had no idea.
I had no idea. I'm like, oh my goodness, thanks guys. And there definitely is an aspect of that. But I put aside money. You know, we put aside money because this is something that we want to do. This was a trip we wanted to make. So it's like in the budget, the yearly budget, this is
It's
in
just
there.
like anything else.
Part
And
of
guess
it.
what? We just learned that trips are better than things.
Yep.
So there you go. If that's
Trip.
the trip you want to take,
Enjoy
who's
this.
to say that that is any better or worse than going to Yosemite, which also costs in the middle of the summer a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And you're still going
Mhm.
into the wilderness. You still have to, in that case, in some places, you have to like take your leave behinds back out with you. So it's like it's in some ways it could be even more hard than being in Burning Man, you know, going out and camping in the wilderness, but people still do it for fun. I think that this is just taking a bunch of those people and putting them in one place, and I certainly see it as something that could be pretty awesome to be a part of if it was your thing. Everyone has their own thing, right?
Yeah.
And I bet it's much harder to go to Yosemite and then score your psychedelics than at Burning Man.
No, you bring them into Yosemite.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's much harder to go to Yosemite first and then look than it would be.
Well, you just have to plan differently.
Got to plan ahead. Man.
Couldn't you just
Gotta
go
be more
look for them?
self-reliant.
Don't they grow in cow fields?
Yes, yeah, in the right
In the right
temperature.
season,
You need, like, humid,
near
foggy.
a rock.
You need a
Just, you know.
fully fog to come through, and then you go flipping the cow patties in search of the right fungi.
You just, you know, you pack different things depending on the trip. Burning Man, maybe not as many shirts.
Maybe not as many shirts. Yes.
I would think you'd want a lot of shirts. If you can't bathe, if there's nowhere to bathe, I would think you'd want many shirts. Keep changing
You don't need
shirts.
a shirt at Burning Man, Justin.
Huh?
You don't need pants at Burning Man either.
You don't need anything in the clothing department at Burning Man.
Well, then you need a lot of suntan.
I would
at least.
recommend sunblock.
Yes.
High altitude. Like
But
5,000 feet.
also, this is we're overlooking the other elemental challenge to Burning Man, which is how far down the temperatures plummet at night.
It's cold. It gets
Right?
to be
High
cold.
desert.
And some people still don't want to wear clothes.
And some people still don't want to wear clothes. Strange people. I love having big fluffy coats and wearing the big fluffy coats around at night.
And nothing else.
No. And pants.
Oh, I was talking about myself.
Yeah.
I like a good trench
Pants.
coat. and Nothing else.
Or a skirt. I don't know. One of my outfits was this massive skirt, and I had a mask and a corset and a crazy intense outfit. By the end of the morning, I was like, throwing the skirt away. This is too much.
Yes, Ed, Connecticut. 75,000 people just going camping. See if they get along well. Yeah, probably going to be an odd mix. But this is the thing. That's why you've got to have that selection process that doesn't mimic actual society. You need something that's getting these people here other than just a cross-sampling of humanity or our civilization, because we know that would have dire consequences.
Interesting. This Burning Man has achieved notoriety the last few years, no less because we are now being visited by Democratic and Republican politicians.
What?
Yeah. So, what's his name? Democrat. No. So Grover Norquist came out this year for a couple of days. He did a plug and play probably where he just flew in. Camp was probably all set up for him, but he was out. He met with people, talked with people, wrote a big article for the Guardian that Ed posted the link to in the chat, and then who am I thinking of? There's I'm totally blanking on the name of the other politician. A Democrat was out and came out and did a stump speech, I guess, out at Burning Man. One of the strangest things.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the strangest things to me. I appreciate people coming out and trying to talk to people where they are.
Yeah.
And, and if they find something there, and it seems like Grover Norquist really got something out of Burning Man. From his article, it seems like he really got it, which is great. I don't know if he, everyone gets it in their own way. But
Well, I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see more politicians showing up to actual societal gatherings and phenomena that isn't a convention or an assembled place for them to show up and talk, or
I like this.
town hall
One that just
meetings.
shows up to enjoy something instead of talking and using
Yeah.
it as a political thing. That's not very likely ever to
How
be.
about you just stop being a politician for 5 minutes? It's not
Would you vote for me if I did?
Huh?
Is there a segment for that?
They
Is there
don't
a
need to
group
stop
that-
being politicians. I just
I
like
could
them
do that.
to.
5 minutes. I could do that.
I'd like them to work on surrounding themselves with real people more often, because they're all in bubbles.
They are. They are. I mean, and you think about people making decisions for everybody, and they're not even living in the world that everybody else lives in. And they go out and they're, I met with this person and I talked with that person and I da la la la. And it's like, you don't get it. You didn't live it. You didn't do it. There was some politician wrote an article about trying to live on the wages of somebody working on minimum wage, and so basically said, okay, for this month, this is how much money I've got, and this is what we're going to do. Basically, he didn't make it at all. Did not make it at all. He couldn't do it. There were too many things that he had to do. He tried walking places instead of taking the other transportation, and he totally ran out of money in like a week and was supposed to last a month. It did not work.
Yeah, I read an awesome story in college about a woman who started working as a waitress for minimum wage in somewhere in Middle America. She was making like $2.50 an hour plus tips.
Right, because that's in California, you actually get minimum wage as a waitress, but in other states, it's your tips. It's all tips.
Yeah, your tips count as part of the minimum wage, so they can pay you below that. So she started. This is in the 90s, but she started at $2.50 an hour, I think, and and was a waitress. Wasn't even a hostess, was a waitress. And she was like, she had to find a house. She was renting out a room in a trailer park, not even the whole trailer, a room in the trailer park. Stopped running her dryer, only washed her clothes and then hung them out to dry because she didn't want to spend money on the electricity. Took a second job waitressing during the day, so she was working 16 hours a day, something like that. Still didn't make it the full month.
Nope, you can't. You can't. And then that's where the scientific studies come out that talk about the stress that people are under and how it affects their brains and how it makes them less likely to get out of their situation, because it all relates back to the stress of just trying to survive. So if we get rid of this low minimum wage and we actually allow people to survive, maybe that stress will go away and maybe there will be even more people doing awesome shit.
Chris Christie.
The hierarchy of needs, right?
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, exactly.
If you can't reach that lower echelon, you're never going to get up here.
Did anybody hear Chris Christie's quote? It was in a rebuttal to Paul Rubio or somebody about global warming. Or what's his name? Rubio, the Florida guy.
Marco.
Anyway, Marco Rubio. Thank you. Marco Rubio said something about, he was asked a global warming question and shot it. Well, I'm not a scientist, but I look around and I see the weather and, I don't know that anything's definitely going on from basically my own ideas of what may or may not be going on. Chris Christie had a nice rebuttal for it, which was, I'm also not a scientist, but I have a brain and I can read and I can call a scientist on the phone, have a conversation, and then have an opinion afterwards.
Yes.
Do you think that's because he was affected by Sandy, that he actually is feeling that he wants to...
I've been here for a long time. Well, I don't know how bad was New Jersey hit?
Pretty bad.
Badly. Yeah.
So
they were in some ways worse than New York. I think they didn't get as much aid right away as New York did. So that's when Obama came and they were seen together and it was a big...
that's right. It was a big... how hands with the president of all people, right? So this is one of these things too. It's like there's somebody from an area that's being affected, but it's also I'm not a huge fan of any real politician out there, but I thought that was a great quote.
So funny. I'm reading through comments in the chat room. Ulysses yelled about naked people for a while.
Yeah, a lot.
Then Ulysses says, Burning Man gives you the strength to fight aliens. There is a lot. There's so much. So, Burning Man, there's a lot that's worth mocking there, but there's also a lot that is worth supporting and applauding and hoping
And
that
I'm
there
not
will be
attempting
more
to
of it.
mock
Yeah. No.
I don't intend to be making fun of it.
Yeah, and Wiz
Until
Mike
you try
says,
to create a broader context for what it means and the possibilities of humanity. And then I got to call a little bit of, well, yeah, if you have a segregated society of like-minded people of a certain economic class, then yeah, that society can have a week-long party better than maybe somebody else.
okay, but the whole idea, getting beyond the party aspect of it, the party is fun. I'm not gonna say it's not. It's a fun party for a week in the desert. It's great, but there's so many other aspects to it, and all the people who come there, you just leave with a feeling of positivity, optimism, inspiration. There are all these wonderful things that come out of it, and if we can bring that out and work to help lower classes to a rising tide lifts all ships. If we can work to pick it all up, and work at local level in the community to make things happen, to get changes to work, I mean, it's stuff like Blair working in education here in San Francisco, trying to actually get kids to start thinking about sustainability and making changes to the way that they go about their daily life. Blair's doing it.
I'm trying.
You're trying. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's you doing your art, Justin, creating art, putting it out there, trying to do something, trying to be provocative in the stuff that you do in an improv show, trying to make people think, trying to shock them into maybe questioning the way that they think about stuff. You do it.
But I'm just me. Kiki, how
just-
does that relate to the world
are-
beyond?
You are just you, but that's how you are affecting the world beyond.
But like a
Yeah.
pebble in a lake, you can have a ripple effect.
Exactly.
That's what I'm hoping for, is that I teach, or I teach 7 people how to teach children. They teach 5,000 children over a semester. Each of those children teaches 2 of their friends. This is what I'm hoping. This is how you make a movement, right?
Yeah, that and you stay open long enough. The Sac Zoo the other day, I overheard a couple of the docents talking. And it's like the docent who'd been there for a while versus a new one. It was like teaching the new senior on the block, the ropes. It's like, yeah, you'll see a lot of senior citizens. You'll see the school buses come in for the trips occasionally. You'll see a lot of kids, the under 5 crowd really shows up. But somehow we lose the school-age kids. They don't come in just with the family. And I'm like overhearing, I wanted to yell at them. I was like, you close at 4!
Yeah.
Kids get off school
That'll
at
do
3:30!
How are they gonna come
To
in?
visit your facility, I would bring my other kids, but you're going to be closed by the time I get here.
Yeah,
Pretty
kids
dumb.
can come in with school groups, but
Mhm.
they, unless zoos would stay open when kids are out of school, that parents could bring them. I avoid the zoos on the weekends because they're so
Yeah.
crowded. I don't go to
They're too
any.
crowded.
I don't go to museums or zoos on the weekends.
No.
Just like,
Mhm.
nope.
I'm now with the youngest going, well, it may be looking like 2, 3, maybe 4 times a week now. She's just obsessed with going and seeing the animals.
Oh.
Nice.
We've already got, like, they're already recognizing us, like all the zookeepers and the people are like know her by my name now.
I used to recognize certain people. They would always be there for when I was putting out the food for the grizzly bears. Like 3 days a week, I would see the same elderly couple watching me put out the food, and I'd wave.
Nice.
It was so nice. I liked seeing that. It was great.
Oh, starting next week, I'm going to be sending Mark at Boing Boing the link to our podcast and our YouTube stuff, and they're going to be posting it on Boing Boing.
What?
They'll be sharing TWIS on Boing Boing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is this
Which
an
will be great.
experimental thing?
It's experimental. Unfortunately, I believe they are winding their podcast network down.
Oh.
Yeah, but he was like, but if you want to just still post TWIS on Boing Boing, you can do that. And I'm like, awesome, let's do it.
Yes, let's do that, please.
So let's do it. Let's do it.
Anything that'll
be
boost
part of
our
Boing
resume
Boing.
for the future too is great.
Yeah.
And say we were on the Boing Boing network.
Formerly of,
Boing
and
Boing.
formerly of, and also formerly of, and a brief encounter with. And we once saw so-and-so in an elevator. We have.
That's nice, Aaron
What
B.
is, I think we have 500 plus episodes now. 400, almost 500 podcast episodes.
Almost 500 episodes. We still have to figure out. This was a conversation briefly before I left for Burning Man, but we do have to figure out if we want to do something for our 500th episode.
Yeah.
I think the answer is yes.
I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to contact Exploratorium people.
Great.
And see.
They have the podcastatorium or whatever it's called.
Yeah, maybe we can do a live show from the Exploratorium.
Yeah.
Would be kind of cool.
Yeah, do you have the same contact that I had from last time too? You have her card, right?
I think so.
If not, I can hunt her stuff down again.
Okay. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I'll check the Exploratorium and see if there's something that we could do for our 500th episode. And I'm also talking with a guy from New York City who
New York City?
New York City.
I think they call that place the Big Apple.
They do.
Why am I thinking of a corn cob?
He's the managing director of a small theater in New York, and he is working with a couple of people to produce a science theater festival.
Like a Broadway version of TWIS?
That's not exactly where we're going, but
Disclaimer! Actually, Blair's Animal Corner isn't that far off already.
It's not. It's awesome. I haven't heard back from him yet. Hopefully we'll see, but
they need presenter-y things.
He suggested to me that maybe having one of their events be live streaming TWIS, which could be fun.
Would we go there to do it?
No.
Oh, oh yeah, you guys have reasons to stay here. I want to go.
Take a TV, plug it into an HDMI cable. Our show would be played via the interwebs into a live audience.
Yes.
Who could then be in the chat room, I guess.
Or because we do a hangout, we could potentially have them be one of the guests in our call and have the audience, maybe they would have a camera and a microphone there, and people could get up and ask questions or at various points.
Well, if you want one of us to go there to be there, I'll go.
Right? No, I was thinking that. I'm like, oh, New York, that'd be fun. Maybe we should just...
We should just go. No, we should just go.
We should just go to New York.
If they'll pay for the travel expenses, we should just go.
And so they're looking at early January
Sweet.
as setting this up. So that's another conversation I'm having. So early January for that, and then we have to figure out our 500th episode, what we're going to do for that.
Which will be when we decided?
End of February, March.
Oh, right around Valentine's Day, right? That's what you're saying. Yeah. Well, because we got bumped back. Oh, excuse me. Yawn attack. We got bumped back a week. So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think it might be March, but I'm not. Did I sell TWIS stuff at Burning Man? No. No selling, no branding. I was very quiet. I told a couple people about what I did, but otherwise, I was on the lowdown.
I think I'm gonna make
An
some
ice
twist.
show. Identity 4, you're crazy.
Ice
Science on ice. Oh,
Nice.
oh, I need to go watch TV in an hour. At 11:30, I need to watch Inside Edition on Kron
Nice.
because I was interviewed very briefly
For what?
for a story about an unfortunate accident at a science museum in Reno.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Reno.
So they contacted me, and I did a little Skype call and was interviewed. And then I have a friend in Florida who Facebooked me, and she's like, "Hey, did I just see you on Inside Edition?" The answer is yes.
Huh.
So I have no idea what it looked like. I have an hour. I'm gonna check that out. I can't forget. I've missed all the other times it's been on today.
Aaron B., I'm immune from having a swelled head. I'm the most humble person you will ever meet.
Like out of anybody.
Out of anybody, I'm way more humbler than at least most people.
He's so
Probably
proud of how
everybody
humble he is.
I'll ever be in a room with. You will never see me flaunting humility in front of people, trying to one-up somebody else's humility. If somebody walks in the room and they're acting humble, I won't try to outdo them. I won't try to be more self-deprecating than them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So coming up, October 9th, I won't be at the show, which is very sad. But that's because
Okay.
I will be at the aquarium's yearly gala,
Oh, fun.
where we
Nice.
are hoping to gain some donors for our programs. So I'm going to be there next to my touch tank to talk about the program that I do. So
Cool.
I get to dress all cocktail attire-y and wear heels to work. It'll be very fun. And then schmooze.
Schmooze. Fancy
then-
schmooze.
So that's October, and then I'm going to miss one in December, too. The first Thursday in December, I'll be at CSTA, which will be awesome.
Oh. Oh. Can I go to that?
Yeah, you can totally go to that.
Yeah, wow.
Because based on the stuff that we were talking about recently,
Yeah.
that
Wait,
would be a
what
really
stuff?
cool thing for you to go to.
Wait, what were
Yeah.
you talking about?
We were talking about trying to make some TWIS content for teachers and students.
Yeah, so say taking I did a little bit, but like cutting the show down into the stories that we have and then having related content, like trying to figure out like what would be the good kind what would be good that how do you set it up to deliver it to teachers so they can use it in a classroom?
Right.
Like example,
That's what I wanna do.
talk about the latest the polar vortex and how it's related to climate change. Then you can say, you would have a cut and you would say, all right, teachers and students or whatever, like, here's a fun experiment you can do on something just like this. Take a bin, put some ice in it, and you'd have like the video, and you could even potentially package it with materials. Like, I don't know, maybe we'd have two different like levels, like just the video or the video and the materials, and it could get shipped to them or whatever. I don't know.
So, Doc, did you ever get in
Yeah.
contact with, or did it just not go anywhere, the lady who was in charge of the educating?
I did. It didn't go anywhere.
teachers about-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She was doing teacher training stuff. But,
Teacher
yeah.
training, and had, from what I understood at the time, a backlog of materials that she needed to get out and get in front of them. And if there was a way to mediaize them so that they could all receive
It seemed like she just needed the it seemed like she just needed the technology for that.
I don't know, no, not the technology.
Yeah.
I think they needed presenters too, like somebody to kind of put it together.
Yeah,
Somebody
I didn't get that from our
More
conversation.
immediate. Well, that's what the pitch is, that we could, out of the box,
Yeah.
here's the material that you need to get in front of the teachers to fulfill the state or national program.
Which is what I've been doing all sorts of work with
put it
in my
into
job right
a
now.
podcast that they can listen to, and that would be doing your job too.
Yeah, so a bunch of my job when I was designing this new program was to get it aligned with the next generation science standards, which is not into effect yet, but it's starting getting phased in, and it'll need to be fully implemented. The latest date they gave was 2017. But so teachers are starting to have to do that, and so the easier you can make it for them to make that transition, the more likely they will be to take it in a friendly fashion.
Right.
Because suddenly
Yes.
these teachers that maybe they've been teaching for 20 years and they've been using the same curriculum for 20 years, all of a sudden you're saying, oh, you're not teaching photosynthesis anymore in the second grade. That's hard.
Yes. It would be much easier to take in the new information through your ear holes if you had somebody who was breaking it down in a fun conversational way.
Yeah.
Little podcasty thing.
Like, do we know anyone who does that?
Right? No, but this is why I thought we should recontact this lady and find out if there is something we can do. Because it sounded to me like there was a large budget involved in state-mandated teacher training, mandated that they get updates.
Well, if we want to do that,
How to deliver information. I'm not talking about the core standards, but this was a specific and throughout all levels of science educators, though, of environmental training and updates to the information.
well, if we want to go that route, we need to just start applying for grants. Because there are grants left and right for that are just ripe for the picking. Well, you have to write a grant.
We need a grant writer.
Yeah.
Kiki, I nominate you. I don't know what.
Well, it's interesting. I'm actually looking at potentially taking grant writing classes soon.
Cool.
You should do this.
I have written grants.
Yeah?
Yes.
See,
have.
I now have executed a grant, but I've not yet written a
Nice.
grant. So I have half of it. But I really want that just for kind of my future, like, plans and aspirations. Being able to write a grant would be great because I want to stay in the nonprofit world.
You have to know how to write grants for nonprofit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
Yep.
That's in the plan.
Sweet.
Awesome. I gotta go drink beer and feed dog.
Yeah, go
Great.
do that.
Okay.
I gotta go be a human companion.
Next week, we're all in.
Mhm.
All in. Awesome.
Most likely.
Most
Very cool.
likely. Justin's having the work scheduling issues.
It's gotten worse than it was before, so it's less for sure that I will be able to be here at the same bat time, same bat channel.
boy.
However,
That's not good.
I predict that I will again try really hard and make it happen.
Yes, I predict that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, is there another night that would be better? Or just your schedule always changes.
Sunday afternoon.
I'm not doing a Sunday afternoon.
Every
figured not.
Tuesday, Wednesday night are completely free. Doing anything, so I don't know what your life schedules are looking like, but
I can look into that.
I don't know. We've been telling everybody we'd have to change our promo video. Damn it.
I know we've been Thursday for so long.
I
I don't know.
It's not a bad thing.
do you know what I heard this morning on the radio?
No?
This Week in Science.
Sweet. Was it an old episode?
It wasn't too old. Which episode was it? Gosh. No, wait a sec. Oh, I can't remember now. What was it? It just freaked me out because turned the radio on, or got in the car, started the car, and the radio was already on, and it was us talking.
Which is always weird.
Yeah, it was strange. And it was actually, they like started the show, then it stopped, and they went back to cart. Like it got bumped over too quick. And then they played a disclaimer. Like the station's like, the following hour programming does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the University of California.
That's funny.
And then it went into back to Kiki saying, this is TWIS. And then there was and now this. And then disclaimer, another disclaimer. And then we jibber-jabbered for a little bit. And I was like, oh my God, when is this show going to start?
Haha.
I think what we should do from now on, completely change the opening format of the show. And start with a story. Kiki, you should just start with a story. This week they discovered blah 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 blah, and of course this is TWIS, and then go into it. I think you got to hit them with content first. Like all TV shows.
That's what This
TV
American
shows
Life.
start with content before they'd even do the intro to the show.
This American Life does a whole story before they introduce the show.
Right? I think it's a good. Here's what you get. Here's the show, and then okay, now that we're in, here's that we're doing the show. Blah blah blah. And either that or I gotta cut out the disclaimer or something. We just need to, because it seemed like it was a long time before we got the content.
Mm-hmm. It is a while.
Start with content, then this is TWIS. Start with like your favorite story of the week. That favorite one that comes in at the top of the show anyhow. Let's just start with the story. And then go back into introing the show. We already got you hooked. If you like science, you already figured out what the show is. You don't have to sort of wait to get to the show.
It's an interesting idea.
It is, yeah, it is. I'm thinking about it. And Identity and Ulysses say Tuesdays are bad for them.
All right, so Wednesday then. We're good. It's Wednesday.
Mhm.
All right, see you next Wednesday, guys.
Yeah, sounds
No,
good.
not yet.
I mean, if we did it on a Wednesday, then Thursdays would be free to go do sciencey things. Because
Right.
San Francisco Thursday night is like science night in San Francisco.
Right, and
Yep.
Blair, suddenly you don't miss October 25th or 4th or whatever it was.
It's true.
Oh, the 9th, yeah.
Yeah.
And the one in December I would be able to do, too, I
Uh-huh.
think.
See how this is working out? Pretty nice.
Interesting.
And both Christmas
Interesting
and New Year
concept.
now aren't TWIS.
Huh? Oh, they were this year?
I think so, aren't they? I don't know. I gotta look.
I think
at
so.
But then it's Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve? That's
Yeah.
worse.
It's worse. That's not gonna work.
Hang on, let me go to December. Thursday is no, neither. It's the day after Christmas. No, that's November. Hang on. Whoops, I went 1 month too short. So yes, the 1st is a Thursday.
Which is
and
New Year's
Christmas
Eve.
Day is a Thursday.
Yeah, so New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve.
Oh yeah, that's probably not going to be any better.
Not any better.
And then the 31st would probably be even worse.
We're going to have to take a hiatus or do a pre-recorded.
Actually, I have kids. I don't do anything New Year's Eve. I don't.
Well, as long as we did it early, I could do
I do.
something.
We watch the ball drop in New York at like 9, and then everybody goes to bed.
We should just do like a short sometime in those 2 weeks. Do like a 15-minute episode. Each of us does one story. Be like, this is what'll get you through winter break.
Now, we've done things in the past where we do shows on different nights, or we do different. We just reschedule, or record them at a different time. We also have our special holiday shows that happen. So
Yes, or Twistmas.
I usually work it all out. I make the schedule happen.
Yeah.
Identity 4.
What am
we're
I
gonna do
worried
this on
about?
you. Identity 4. Does Wednesday
I
work?
balance my self-interest with the honesty of TWIS.
We're gonna let Identity 4 choose the new day.
That's right.
Wednesday or Tuesday, Identity 4. Which is it?
Identity Force is not Tuesday.
Wednesday it is.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what my Wednesdays are usually like. Tuesdays are usually pretty busy. I don't
Identity 4, it's not the TWIS Christmas special. It's the Twistmas special.
know.
That's it. Twistmas.
Twistmaca.
Mondays are no good. I work a bell on Monday. I work every working hour of a Monday. Every Monday.
I wouldn't want to do it on
Twistmaca.
Monday anyway, because then I'm tired the rest of the
Identity
week.
4 chooses Wednesday. Wednesday it is. We'll see you next Wednesday here on This Week in Science.
No, don't confuse
Wednesdays.
everybody. We don't
Every
confuse
Wednesday.
everybody. We did not just make a change like that fast.
Just changed to Wednesdays.
No,
If
we
you
did
missed
not.
it,
Don't
Twist
listen to
will be
Justin.
on Wednesdays from now on.
If you just started listening to Justin, I don't understand why you just chose this moment, but
Wednesdays is the day that we are announcing.
no.
Nobody else knows but you.
Nobody else will be here but you.
Just you who are listening now, the dedicated fans, will be seeing us on Wednesdays now instead of Thursdays.
It's we're going to have to change some people's habits to change a night, and so there's going to be a lot more than just going all of a sudden it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
Well, what else will we have to do?
I got to
We
think
have to
about it.
advertise the change for at
Ooh.
least a week, 2
Everybody's
weeks, 3
here.
weeks. I would
Everybody's
say
here right now.
if we decide next week, it's going to take at least 2 weeks, maybe 3.
I wouldn't start it
Next
until
week,
I wouldn't
here's
start
how
it
we
on
fix it.
Wednesday until the beginning of October if we
Here's how we
did
fix
decide to change it, and we have not decided to change it yet, and you're not going to push it right now.
So here's how we do it. We do half a show Wednesday
No.
and half a show Thursday. And everybody who missed the half a show Wednesday on Thursday will hear, oh yeah, we're slowly moving over to Wednesday. So we did half the show yesterday. We're doing the second half of the show tonight. If you missed the first half, it's available on the YouTubes. But this is the second half of episode, whatever it is.
The second half of episode 483.
Look,
I
people
don't
are
know
all
when
like-
the first
there's
half was
people who are like, "Good night,
recorded.
see you Wednesday." We have to do a Wednesday show now.
No, we
There's
do
people
not.
who just tuned out now who, if we only do a Thursday show, will
You know
have
what?
missed.
We're like 2.5 hours in. People are not just tuning in; they're tuning out. They're
No, that's
tuning
what
in.
I'm saying.
impossible.
The last thing they heard was me saying the show moved to Wednesday. Now we have to show up on Wednesday, otherwise they're going to be there on the wrong day.
No.
Oh boy.
It's unfortunate it
You
had.
go ahead, Justin.
I
go
apologize.
ahead.
I guess I spoke out. I thought we had agreed. I was a little premature, but
I
now
hope
it looks
that
like
you
for the interests
are
of
here on Thursday.
humanity, we must do 2 shows next week.
it would be really nice to see you on Thursday next week, Justin.
I'll try to get here. I really will.
Yeah. Ben Rothick, you always listen to Jackson Fly. What?
Identity 4 is a really good idea. That once we move, we can rebroadcast on Thursdays. To
Don't pick your nose on camera.
I didn't. I scratched it.
Yeah.
I'm scratching.
When you scratch with a finger like this, it
Yeah.
just looks like you're picking your nose.
Do you know sign
Rebroadcast.
language?
I like
Do
our
you know-
rebroadcast idea.
Yeah, it sounds good. Do you know the sign language for bored?
I need to figure out how to have a mouth dreaming.
Is it really?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it really is.
I'm picking my nose. I'm so bored. I'm picking my nose. That's
Yeah.
basically what the sign language is. That's
Yeah.
nice. I'm so bored. I am picking my nose. I think
Oh
the
yeah, we got to
only-
do another Twistmageddon this year.
Yeah.
I think that's a great, fantastic, great idea.
all I know in sign language is, what is it? Beer for
Is that beer?
breakfast.
That's nice.
That's the letter B.
The letter B is beer or beer for breakfast. Something like that. I don't know. Somebody
What did
probably
I
told me
remember?
that.
It's thank you, I think. And then this is sorry.
This
Tree.
is weird.
Oh,
Weird.
yeah.
I'm sorry, but
Draw.
I have to.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Justin has to go feed a dog and drink a refrigerator of beer. You're running out of time, Justin.
I know I gotta go. All right. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Next Wednesday.
So much for joining us once again. So awesome to chat with you in the chat room and hang out. And we will see you next Thursday, our regular broadcast time, Thursday, 8 p.m.-ish Pacific time. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody. Blair, Justin. Good night.